All right, everyone. Have you ever stopped to think about what separates a good business decision from a truly great one? I mean, really think about it. It's usually not about having some secret stash of data no one else has. More often than not, it's about understanding the perfect moment to make your move. So today, we're going to get out of the textbook for a bit and really explore a concept that gives you that power, the power to see, analyze, and act on a single decisive moment.
This isn't just some abstract philosophical question. This is the question that leaders in every single industry face every single day. When do you sell that stock to squeeze out every last drop of profit? When, exactly, is the right second to launch that new product for the biggest possible splash? How do you know when it's time to adjust your pricing? These aren't just homework problems, believe me. Getting the timing right can literally make or break a company. Getting it wrong, well, that can be a lesson you can't afford to learn too many times.
Now, as business students, you're getting really good at looking at the big picture, right? You analyze quarterly reports, you track annual growth, you follow market trends, and that's all absolutely crucial stuff. But it's a little bit like trying to drive a car by looking only in the rearview mirror. It gives you a great view of where you've been. But to handle that sharp curve up ahead, you need to know what's happening right now. The real strategic edge, the thing that separates the pros from the amateurs, is the ability to zoom all the way in, to dissect one fleeting moment and understand which way it's heading.
So, how are we going to build that skill today? Well, here's our game plan. First, we'll get a solid handle on this idea of instantaneous change. Then, we're immediately going to throw it into a high-stakes scenario you could easily face in the real world. Now, importantly, we're also going to look at the common mistakes and traps people fall into so you can sidestep them. And by the end of our time, you'll have a genuinely new, powerful tool for your strategic thinking toolbox. Okay, let's get into the core concept. It's so easy to look at last quarter's sales numbers and feel like you know what's going on. But you have to remember, that data is already history. It's static. To make smart decisions in a world that's constantly moving, we have to learn to shift our focus. We need to move from that wide-angle big-picture view of the past to a microscopic view of the present. We need to understand what's happening, not over the last quarter, but in this very second.
And this slide, this really gets to the heart of what we're talking about. Over on the left, we've got the average rate of change. That's your rearview mirror. It tells you, hey, on average, our profits grew by, $10,000 a day last quarter. And that's fine for summary, but it can be so misleading. Why? Well, what if you had a killer first month and an absolutely disastrous last month? The average just smooths all that drama out and hides the real story. But now look at the right. That's the instantaneous rate of change. This is your speedometer. It doesn't care about your average speed for the whole trip. It tells you exactly how fast you're going right now. Is profit growing this very second, or is it actually starting to fall? That's the info you need to act.
So let's put a formal definition on this. The instantaneous rate of change is simply the rate at which something is changing at one single specific moment in time. The best way to think about it is like a doctor taking your pulse, right? They're not trying to figure out your average heart rate over the last 24 hours. They're measuring its speed and rhythm right then and there to see how you're doing at that exact moment. And in business, whether we're talking about revenue or stock prices or costs, this lets us take the pulse of that number. It tells us its direction and its speed right now.
So what's the mathematical engine that actually calculates this pulse for us? It's called the derivative. Now, let me be really clear about this. In your future careers, you're probably not going to be sitting around calculating derivatives by hand with a pencil and paper. But you absolutely 100% must understand what the derivative represents. It's the tool that lets you take a messy, chaotic, fluctuating thing, like a stock price bouncing all over the place, and boil it down to one single, incredibly powerful number. Its rate of change at one precise instant. It's what turns a blurry mess into a crystal clear data point. All right, so we've got the theory down, but a tool is pretty useless if you don't know how to use it, right? So let's take this out of the abstract and put it to work in a world where every single second and every fraction of a cent can mean the difference between millions of dollars in profit or loss. I really want you to put yourself in this headspace. Imagine you are a portfolio manager. You are responsible for other people's money, their retirement funds, their kids' college savings. We're talking millions of dollars. The market is buzzing, things are moving fast, and you're watching one of your most important stocks like a hawk. The pressure is definitely on. You look at your screen. The stock is sitting at $150.45. Okay, that's a fact. But as a piece of information, it's not very useful yet. It's just a number without any context, without a story. It tells you where the stock is, but it tells you absolutely nothing about where it's going. And here it is. The decision is on you. Right now.
Do you hold on, hoping it's going to keep climbing, or do you sell and lock in the gains you've already made? If all you have is that price, you're basically just guessing. You're paralyzed. You have no sense of context, no idea about its momentum, you're flying blind.
This is where the magic happens. We have to look past that static price and find its velocity. It's time to use our new tool. By taking the derivative of the function that describes the stock's price, we're not just looking at its position anymore. We're looking at its momentum. We can finally see which way it's headed, and, just as important, how fast it's getting there.
So your system crunches the numbers and bam, it spits out a result. The derivative is positive 2 cents per second. Now, your immediate gut reaction might be relief. Phew, okay, it's positive, the price is still going up. And you know what? You're not wrong. But the analysis can't stop there. The best decision makers always ask the next question.
So let's really think this through. The stock is climbing, yes, but what was this number 5 minutes ago? Let's imagine that 5 minutes ago the derivative was positive 10 cents per second, and now it's only positive 2 cents. Do you see what's happening? The rate of increase itself is slowing down. It's decelerating. The engine is running out of steam. This is a massive flashing red light that the stock could be hitting its peak. And just like that, with one extra piece of data, your decision is no longer a wild guess. It's a calculated, strategic move based on a real insight into the stock's fading momentum. Okay, this is obviously an incredibly powerful concept. But just like any powerful tool, if you misuse it, it can lead you down the wrong path just as quickly as it can lead you to the right one. So let's hit pause for a second and talk about the biggest traps that students, and to be honest, a lot of professionals, fall into when they start using this kind of analysis.
The first mistake is a total classic, confusing the past with the present. It is so tempting to see that a stock went up 5% in the last hour and just assume it's going to keep doing that. That is pure rear-view mirror thinking. You have to correct for that by focusing on its velocity right now. The second trap is getting mesmerized by the price itself. A high price feels good, right? But it's what we call a vanity metric if the momentum behind it is completely dying out. A pro analyzes the velocity. Is it accelerating or is it running out of gas? The derivative is the only tool that gives you that precise read. So when you put it all together, you get the theory, you see how to apply it, and you know the pitfalls to avoid. What are you left with? You're left with a fundamentally new way of looking at strategic problems. I mean it. This isn't just about passing a math course. This is about training yourself to see the business world not as a series of still photos, but as a dynamic, constantly changing movement.
So what are the big takeaways I want you to walk out of here with? First, calculus isn't some dusty, abstract subject. It gives you real, practical tools for mastering the art of timing. Second, I want you to burn this into your brain. The derivative measures momentum, not just position. Third, when you have that insight, you can make decisions that are not only smarter, but faster and more confident. And finally, the ultimate goal here is to really evolve your thinking, to go from just looking at static data to conducting a dynamic analysis of what's happening right this second.
I want to leave you with this final thought. Look, the derivative is not a magic crystal ball. It cannot tell you what's going to happen tomorrow with 100% certainty. Nothing can. But it's the next best thing. It's like a high-resolution photograph of the present. It's your compass and your speedometer telling you exactly which way things are heading and how fast, right now. And in a world that is defined by constant, relentless change, that is nothing short of a superpower. So as we wrap up, I want you to think about this question. At some point in your career, and I promise you this will happen, whether you're in finance, marketing, operations, or starting your own company, you are going to face a massive decision that hinges entirely on a single moment. What do you think that moment will be for you, and how are you going to use this way of thinking to analyze the dynamics at play and make the right call? Think about it.